Speaker is Mr. Randell Tiongson. He is actually a motivational speaker and has given hundreds or thousands of talks and lectures in over 15 countries, and I think it's more. In fact, he was here in Kazakhstan last November. He is a trainer, a motivational speaker, an author, and he has already written 4 books about finances. He's a writer, a columnist for a newspaper, a blogger, a vlogger, and one of the Philippines' most recognizable authority in personal finances. He is an advocate of financial education. Over 30 years of experience in the financial industry. And when he goes to talks, this is, oh, what happened? Okay, when he goes to talks, this is just one of the few attendees because he's really sought after. He has a passion of reaching out as many people to educate about the importance of proper money management. He's also one of the directors of Registered Financial Planners Institute of the Philippines. And more than his credentials, he is a good friend of mine who practices what he teaches. He is married to his wonderful and young-looking wife, Mia, and has 2 daughters and 2 sons who are all teenagers now. He is a very generous person, not just with money, but also with his time and his wisdom. I'm glad to know him inside and out because he is also one of my patients back in the clinic, in my clinic in the Philippines. So I am glad to hear and welcome a good friend and our guest speaker, who's not actually a guest because he's been with us here in Kazakhstan. Let me introduce and welcome Mr. Randell Tiongson.
Hello, hi. So nice to see you guys again. So it's such an honor to be here. No, sorry about the time. We got confused with the original time because it's, you know, our time zones are not the same. I thought that the 7 o'clock was Kazakhstan time. So what time is it now there? It's something like 7 something, no? It's over 9 p.m. here in Manila. I just finished a session when there's like 1,000 people who attended. So one more, and then got some stuff to do for you tonight. So good evening to all of you. Like, it's nice to see all of you again. Nice faces, and I'd like to thank Boo for arranging this. Doc Boo. The Boo is my is my dentist. So you guys gained a worker. We lost our dentist. So I really looking forward for him to come home and be my dentist again. Anyway, so like to be able to welcome all of you to this session. I'll try to make it as practical and as brief as I can. But I pray that all of you are doing well today. And all my whole lecture is going to be in English. So maybe you can, I think all of you are comfortable with English. I don't speak Russian, okay? My 2-week stay there was not enough to me to learn more than, I don't even remember a single word. Niet, that's the only thing I remember. Okay, so we're gonna, I remember the food. I remember all the food we ate there in Almaty. First and foremost, I really miss that place. We were trying to see if we can come back. Supposed to be originally this year or maybe next year. I don't know if that's going to happen, if that's still going to be practical, but it's in my plans to go back to Almaty. My wife and I really had a great time there. We stayed there for I think 2 weeks or so. It was, I love the weather. I love the food. I miss what was that pizza place? That's Italian restaurant that I went to 3-4 times.
Del Papa.
Del Papa and Crudo. I miss Crudo. I miss those places. Everything I remember Almaty is the food that I ate. Okay, and of course the people that I met. So again, I was there doing a talk last year. I think it was last year. No, I did, and I promised I was supposed to do another talk, but good, we're doing it virtual, so it's nice to see some of you. Okay, let me see who amongst you I still kind of remember, or at least no. So it's nice to see all of you. Right, so we're gonna start. So we're gonna start with this. So building wealth the no-nonsense way. And may I request for all of you to get a piece of paper, because we're going to do a little test. We're going to do a little test. Okay, we'll do a little test for you. Okay, ready? Are you guys ready? So to do a little test. Okay, I want to, this test will in a way show you, okay, show you to where you are financially speaking. So I want you to take a test right now. Okay, now let me do it a very simple way. Let's talk about your savings today. So your savings today, your answer is either A, B, or C. So write down the answer, A, B, or C. Then later on, I'm going to tell you what to do with it. For your savings today, letter A, answer A, if you have 3 times your monthly expenses or more. So if you're spending 50,000 tenge, assuming you're spending 50,000 tenge, and you have 150,000 tenge in your savings account, okay, then you can put letter A. It is 3 times or more. So 3 times or more of your monthly expenses, then you put A. If it's only 1 to 2 times your monthly expenses, your savings is only 1 to 2 times your monthly expenses, then you must answer letter B. Then if it's less than 1 month, your monthly savings, or virtually have no savings, you put letter C. All right, so your answer should be A, B, or C. All right, moving on to my next question to you. Next test is, let's talk about budgeting. Do you budget? How do you budget? How do you do your budget? Are you a very structured person? My good friend Bo is a very structured person. He has a list for everything, even how many times he brushes his teeth. So letter A, if you have a structured budget and a detailed record of your expenses, so you know how much money comes in, how much money goes out, you can track everything to the single centavo, then you are a letter A person. You have an Excel file to use it, or you have an app, one of those apps, or you write it and you have a notebook for it. Then you're budgeting, you have a structured budget, and then that your answer will be letter A. Now, letter B is that if you have letter B will be if you are more or less, you just have an idea how you spend and have a ballpark figure of your finances or your budget and your figure spending. You more or less, it's a general idea. Then it should be, your answer should be letter B. Okay, letter B. Now, letter C, if you just wing it out. Some people are just like that, bahala na, or in Filipino say bahala na, but basically it's just come what may, whatever happens. I still had something, I just wing things. So hopefully, I'm just hoping, but at the end of the month, I have some money left behind. So your answer would be letter C. All right? A, structured. B, not so structured. C, no structure at all. That's your budgeting. Let us talk about your life insurance. Okay? Do you have a life insurance coverage, a policy? If your coverage or your policy is at least 3 times your annual income, so assuming you're earning 500,000 tenge, assuming, or 1 million tenge, okay, and you have 3 million tenge worth, or convert it to dollars or to peso, whatever you want. If it's 3 times your annual income, then your answer is letter A. If your coverage is only 1 to 2 times your annual income, then your answer should be letter B. If your coverage is less than a month, an annual income, your annual income, or you have no insurance, or you may have an insurance but you stop paying for it, then your answer should be letter C. All right? So that's the next question. Okay? Next question. Are you investing? Do you have some form of investments? All right? I don't know what the conversion, but you invest in stocks. You have some stocks. You have some mutual funds or funds. In Almaty, they have mutual funds there. UITF is that Philippine version of a mutual fund as well. So we have those things. Or you have an insurance that has investment funds. You have it there as well. Or you start to buy real estate. You buy a property. You're investing it. Not for your use, but for investments. And then your answer will be letter A. Any of those, put your answer in letter A. Or you only invest in your just bank certificates of deposits, use the basic savings type that gives you a little bit more interest in your letter B. Or you have not started, you do not have any investments yet, then your answer should be letter C. Again, so if you invest in, some form of stocks, mutual funds, or maybe cryptocurrency or foreign exchange, or it's a little bit more complex type of investment, So your letter A. If you're more the basic certificate of deposits type, then your letter B. And if you're not investing, your letter C. All right? Moving on. Let's talk about your debt. Are you into debt? Okay. If you have no debt, I don't have any debt, then your answer is letter A. No debt. No mortgages, no credit card balances, no debt. Okay. Letter B. You have a debt, but it's a real estate or car mortgage. You're paying for your home, you're paying for your car. It's a mortgage type of a debt. Then it's letter B. Okay. And if you have mortgages, but you also have credit card balances, you have personal loans, you have other loans, informal and formal loans, then your answer should be letter C. So A, no debt. B, just property debt, maybe car debt. Letter C, you have property and or credit card and or personal loans and other types of debt, then it is letter C for you. All right. Now, are you preparing for retirement? I know you're very young, all of you, but preparing for retirement is a good thing. So if you're now thinking about setting up for long-term plan, so you have separate investments exclusively for retirement purposes. So you may have bought some mutual funds, some stocks, some properties, some insurances, but your intention is, I'm going to only use that when I am old, when I'm retired, then you can put letter A. Now, you may have some investments that you might use it, but you're not too sure how to use it, or it's not exclusively for retirement. You may use it, you may not use it. It's not exclusively, it's not actually set for that. Then you put letter B. And letter C is that you're not thinking about it or you're not doing anything about it. Then your answer should be letter C. So A, B, or C. Now, what you do now is we now have to assign points, okay, to your answers. Every answer that is an A should be awarded 3 points. Every answer that is a B would be equivalent to 2 points. And every C answer would equal to 1 point. So A, B, C. So, 3 plus 2 plus 1. What you do is you put the point and you add it. Okay? You add it. I don't think you need an Excel to do that. Okay? So add 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1. And you look at your totals. Okay? Thumbs up if everybody's done. Thumbs up? Right? So, okay, good. So, you want to interpret those numbers? You ready? Okay, so here's the point, moment of truth. For those of you with a 14 to 18 answer, 14 to 18 points from your answer, it means that you do not belong to the majority and you are doing great. Okay, you can now exit from this session tonight. You don't need to listen to the coming slides coming on. So I'm pretty sure my good friend Boo is somewhere between 17 and 18. All right, so you don't belong to the majority, you are doing great. Okay, if your answers are between 9 to 13, today's learning will help you sleep better at night. Okay, it's good. You're doing better than the others, but it can also help you. These learnings can still help you. Unlike your 14 to 18, these learnings probably is too elementary for you. And if your answer is between 9 and even below, there you need to do a one-on-one Zoom session with me today. Okay, we need to talk to you about your financial, your finances, because there's some form of an intervention needed for you, right? So 14, depending on your answer, just for curiosity, did anybody get the 14 to 18 points? Anybody there? Of course, as expected, my friend. That's the reason why we've been good friends for over 10 years. He's been attending my seminars. No joke on me. Okay, so those things. All right, so those are numbers. Now, when we talk about finances, when we talk about personal finance, a picture that I always use is a roller coaster. Because for many of us, our financial life is like a roller coaster. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not too good. Now, with these economic challenges and turmoil and everything, it's not too great for some people. So we're down. Some people are okay. Some people are challenged. So when your financial life is like this, it's not. It's fun to ride the roller coaster, but not to live one. Not to have a financial life like this. And that's what I tell a lot of people. That's why when people have money, they're happy, or sometimes they lose their money, or sometimes they earn a lot but do not spend. And all of these things, it makes your life like a roller coaster. Now, for some of you, this is your finances. For some of you, this is your love life. So that's another topic. I will leave that to Chris and maybe Rose to talk to you about that. All right. Okay. So talk to you about these things, the roller coaster. I'm just gonna talk to you about finances tonight. Now, one of the reasons why we struggle financially or why we live our life like in a roller coaster financially is because of this concept, this idea, the 80-20 concept. And this one I picked it up. That guy you see is his name is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, okay, Dave Ramsey is the one of my favorite author, speakers, writers, radio shows on personal finances in American. Is Dave Ramsey. Do check him out, DaveRamsey.com. He wrote great books like Money Makeover and Enter Leadership. So I love this guy, and he said something forever changed the way I teach finances and even my I guess reflection on why I made a lot of financial mistakes in the past. Now, I am not a finance expert. I am just a teacher. I'm just an advocate. And my only advantage over you is I probably made more financial mistakes than you did because I'm old. I'm in my 50s. Okay? That's why I love Almaty. People couldn't get over that I am in my 50s already when I was there. And my wife was also happy because they thought she was 27, 28 years old. And that's why she wants to go back. She wants to hear that again. Nobody tells her that here. Anyway, 80-20. 80-20 means, and this is from Dave Ramsey, he said that when it comes to money or finances, it is 80% behavior and only 20% head knowledge or skill. 80-20. The reason why we fail with finances or we're not too good with finances is not because we're lacking in skill or head knowledge. It is because we have an issue with our behaviors or our disciplines. So if the first thing that I want to tell you guys is that you have to take a look at your behaviors first and everything else will follow. The skills, the head knowledge, they will all follow in its natural order of things. Okay, so first, focus on the 80%, 20% will follow. Some people call it the Pareto principle, the 80-20 Pareto principle as well. Now, one of the reasons why it is important for you to be able to learn these things is because, let me tell you that in life, I'm in my 50s, I'm gonna, maybe the next decade I'll be retired or so. There are many things that I've experienced in life, and there are many things that you will experience in life. And all of these things are going to be challenging for you. Becoming established, you went to school, you got a job, you fall in love, then you get married, then children will happen, then they will go to school, then you will buy a house, major purchases, then you want to travel, then you prepare for retirement, then you will support aging parents, then your kids will go to college, then you will have medical issues. Okay, all of these things will happen. Then you will experience crises and emergencies, and then finally you will meet your Lord, okay, at the end. So you see all of these things will be challenging for all of us. And all of these things, what is common in all of these things is they all cost money. And we're not talking about a little money here. We're talking about a lot of money here. Okay, we're talking about a lot of money here. And that's one of the challenges that you have to experience as you move forward to these things. Okay? And you're seeing, wow, so many things. What can I do? How can I even build wealth with this? You still can. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about these things as we move forward. So all of these things will require money, and they don't just require little money, they will require a lot of money. Now, in life, you will experience that life will be more about hindsight. You will realize whether you did the right things or the wrong things. You normally will experience that in towards the latter part of your life. And for many people, they live their life with a lot of regrets. And a lot of them were financial regrets. So you realize whether you are good in handling your money or not, that realization will come sooner than later. And hopefully sooner than later, but for many people, it normally comes with their own. You see, I believe that for many of us, we can either be a blessing to our loved ones or we can be a burden to them. Now, for many Asian countries, third world countries such as the Philippines and even Almaty, Kazakhstan and many countries, there's this problem that we're seeing that a lot of the elderly are financially dependent on their children, especially in our nation, right? They're financially dependent on their children. That's always going to be the case. Because many of our elderly were not able to prepare financially for their old age so that they become dependent on their children. Now, the problem happens when the children are now supporting their parents, but these children will eventually have their own kids. That's why for many of us in different parts of the world, particularly the Philippines, India, and even in some areas in Kazakhstan, uh, we experience what we call the sandwich generation. What is a sandwich generation? You are supporting financially up and you're supporting financially down. And that's going to be very difficult. Now, the problem with that kind of a situation is that by the time you get old, chances are you weren't able to prepare because of that structure. So when you get old, you now have to be financially dependent on your children. So your children, whom you used to support, will now have to support you, but your children will now support their own children. So what's happening is we're going around the vicious cycle. And for many parts of the world, that is a story. And that's why preparing for the future becomes even more difficult. Now, we have this problem happening in many parts of the world. And there's nothing wrong helping your parents. There's nothing wrong with that, supporting. But if you are a parent, and I am a parent, I have 4 kids, okay? I don't want to be a burden to them. I believe that what I do will determine whether I'm going to be a burden to them or I'm going to be a blessing to them. And I chose to be a blessing to them, not to be a burden to them. Right? That's why I work hard. I do many things. I do a lot of many sessions so that I can continue to earn a living for them. That's why I'm doing a lot of digital sessions. And for a lot of this digital session, I earn, except tonight. Tonight, I don't earn. Right? Tonight, it's for boo. Right? All these things. You have to pay me for, cleaning my teeth when you get back. So all of these things. So this is very, very important that you need to understand. Right? That's why I work hard. I do a lot of these sacrifices in life because I want to be a blessing to them, not be a burden to them. You see, we need to start to get out of that structure. We need to start to see whether it is the right thing to do. There's nothing wrong helping your parents, but if you're a parent, do not obligate your children to support you. What you need to do is prepare for that eventuality so that you can be a blessing to them and not a burden to them. Right? Now, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to share a little bit of why I believe it. I've read this now in 2 Corinthians 12:14. It says here, the children are not obligated to save up their parents, but parents for the children. And that is something that is very important. That is a truth that I need to understand. Now, do not use this and call your mom or your father and tell them, I cannot support you because I read the children are not obligated. It's not going to work for them anymore. It's too late. But you need to start to believe that. And I believe, and this is something that's driving me forward, is I believe a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. And that is very important for me as a father, as a husband, as a citizen of my nation. I want to live with something. It's not enough that I am financially independent. I want to at least leave them with something. Maybe not a big thing, but at least I need to leave them with something. And that's important. That's why we continue to work. We continue to do many things. And that, for me, is a very admirable trait for all of you. Right? So what is the solution? How can we do that? The challenges of saving, the challenges of investing, the challenges of all these things is very difficult. But at the end of the day, if your purpose, if your vision is, I want to do that, I want to have a comfortable life, I want to leave something to my children, I want to be a blessing to my community, even to my nation, I need to do something today to change. And it starts with us today. So here's my solution. We need to start to evolve. Most of us are spenders. We have a spending culture. People of the citizens of the world today have a strong spending culture. And with the lockdown and everything, we realized that we spend on so many things that we don't need. Most of us we're just living on just the basics, and we're okay. Do I look like I'm malnourished? No. Okay? I'm not. Okay? That's a story. And when you remove many things that are non-essential, you still survive. In fact, maybe some of you are even saving a little bit more money today because you realize you spend on things that are not essential. So what are essentials? The basics that you need to survive. Rent, food, some clothing, not fancy clothing, some clothing, maybe a little bit of education, and of course, if you're Boo and me, like me, coffee. Coffee is essential, right? That's always going to be part of my budget, right? So how's your coffee experience there, okay? So spenders. So as spenders, we need to start to evolve from spender to become savers. We need to begin to save. But you don't stop at saving, you now begin to be an investor. Investor For some people are entrepreneurs, depending on your, what you fancy, what you're good at. So you will need to be able to move from spending to saving to ultimately to be an investor. And that's the way to do it. If you do it successfully again and again and again over time, then you will be able to be a blessing to your loved ones. You're going to be able to build something to live with them. If not, then if you're not going to be moving from spender to saver to investor, then you're going to be stuck to where you are. Then you're going to be in that roller coaster life for a long, long time. Okay. Now, I wrote a book in 2013. I wrote this book. Honestly, when I wrote this book, maybe Boo remembers that when I wrote this book, I thought I was only going to sell 3,000 or 4,000 copies of this book. I was surprised that people actually was drawn into this. I wrote this in 2013. I sold about 65,000 copies of this book already to this day. In fact, I don't have any stock. People are ordering from me. I'm going to finally put it in Kindle maybe in a month or two. Okay, because we all have to learn how to unlearn, relearn, and pivot. And my pivot is also to move towards digital. So in this book I wrote, which really helped a lot of people, I wrote that to be able to build your wealth properly, okay, the no-nonsense way, you have to go through it through process. The first step is to improve your cash flow. You have to learn how to handle money. Step 2, you have to learn how to manage debt. You have to get out of debt. Step 3, you have to build your emergency funds. Imagine if you today, the lockdowns happen and you don't have any emergency funds, you're in trouble today. You'll be in trouble. Step 4 is to understand the value of insurances and why you need them. And step 5 is to begin to invest for the future. I'm going to go briefly to all of them, one more emphasis than the other. I won't put too much emphasis on investing. Maybe we can do that for another night. If you guys are still willing to learn from me, this is something that I'd like to teach all of you today. The first and most important and perhaps the most difficult for a lot of people is the first step. You have to learn how to handle your money well. It starts and ends with this. If you cannot and will not learn how to handle your money well, nothing matters anymore. Nothing will matter. Nothing. No, even if you earn more money, it's not going to solve your problem. Because if you don't know how to handle your money, the more you earn, the more you spend. You'll end up with nothing. You may have a lot of stuff, but this stuff will not amount to giving you financial security. Like today, what happens to all your fancy bags, fancy watches, nice rubber shoes? You can't even use it properly, or you have a car, you can't even drive it around as much as you can. So you have to learn how to handle your money well. You do that and you increase your cash flow by learning how to make more money, and at the same time, learn how to spend less money. Okay? There's two factors here. What do you do so that you can begin to make more money? What are the things that you need to learn, to study, to do, so that money will begin to come to you? And then, of course, as you increase your spending, increase your income, do not increase your spending. So making more money, spending less money, you find the right balance, all right? Even if you spend more money, make sure that you're earning much more than that. So the inflow of cash should always be greater than its outflow. That's a formula that I do. The inflow of cash, what comes in, should always be much higher than what goes out. Okay, that's why you took a look. The way to see it is what you call a cash flow. That's why when I talk to people, how's your cash flow? It means how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. If more money goes out than money comes in, you are living in deficit. Okay? You're living in deficit and you're going to be in trouble. Okay? You're going to be in trouble financially. So some months some people experience that. I experience that. Well, it can't be all the time. Okay? It can't be all the time. How do you make more money? Okay, here's what I tell people. You should not lose grit. Grit is your passion. Grit is what's important. Grit, your jobs, you don't always like what you're doing. There are days that it's hard to get out of the bed. There are days that you don't want to do the work. There are days you don't want to go to school. There are days like that. But you still do it. You still go to work. You still go to school. You still do what you need to do. You still become a mother. You still become a father. You still become a husband or a wife. You still do all of these things. That's what grit does. It allows you to do things even if you don't feel like doing it. Because for some people, it's always about, if I don't feel it, I'm not going. That's a very wrong notion. And if you have this grit, trust me, you will begin to earn more money. But it's not just all on attitude. It's also about your competency levels. Okay? It's important that you invest in yourself. Boo is my favorite dentist because I know Boo is a very deliberate person who always likes to study. That's why every time I visit him as a dentist and he will explain everything to me, I am amazed. 98% of what he tells me, I never understood. Really. Okay? But I am confident that I know that this guy is a good dentist because he knows what he's doing and he studies, he learns. I remember you went to your master's maybe 2 years ago, right? Or something like that. So again, he knows, he continues to invest in himself. So very, very important that you do that. What are the skills that you need to do? There are certain things. Learn finance, learn marketing, learn a new skill, maybe learn strengths finder. You have to learn about these things. You need to constantly do that. I grew. I was able to build my profession, okay, in my career, and to do what I'm doing right now is because I constantly improve on my learning. You know, I do a lot of study. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of watch a lot of videos. I'm a nerd when it comes to, I'm a finance nerd. I'm an economics nerd. And some people say, how do you know all of these things? Because I spend time in all of these things. So invest in yourself. Take up a book, read something, watch a video. Be careful of what you consume. You protect your mind. Make sure that everything that you learn is going to make you a more productive person. That is investing in yourself. And I believe over time, these things will translate to improving productivity and improving revenues and income for you. Okay, that's the thing. I became a quote unquote an expert at what I do because I constantly improve at what I do. Now, because of that, I can now charge higher rates. I can now do these things. I can now do many things. All right. So you have to do it yourself. When you constantly improve on what you're doing, that will happen. Now, don't expect it to happen overnight, but it will happen over time. You just have to be a little bit more patient in doing this. Just to give you some numbers. What I get paid today for one engagement, okay, is equivalent to maybe 3 or 4 months work that I used to have maybe 10, 15 years ago. I mean, that's because I constantly invest in myself. And that's important. And over the years, that's important. So that's why don't remain stagnant. You need to constantly improve what you do and your revenues, your ideas, your concept. That will allow you to build more things for you, right? But discipline is important, like I said, okay? It's not just about earning. It's also about money going up. You need to have a healthy cash flow, wherein the inflow of cash should always be greater than its outflow. Follow that formula. Follow that principle. Check. That's why I asked earlier, do you have a way to track your expenses? Do you have a way to track your income? Because how would you know until you start tracking it? That starts from that perspective. And always remember this. I recommend the 70-30 principle. What is a 70-30 principle? Whenever money comes in, you only spend 70%, then you save and invest at 30%. If you believe in tithing, you get it from the 30%. And then you work on that. If you have this formula and you do it year in, year out, you're going to be okay. You will build your net worth. You will build your wealth properly over time, not overnight. But they say it's easier said than done. That's the challenge. I may want to be able to do this, but it's a challenge for a lot of people because there's a lot of temptations right now. You know, spending is one of them. Having the latest things, having the fashion things, having all of these things. I was in Almaty and I love going to the stores, okay? But I don't always buy, right? Because if you keep on buying what you want, you're going to have a problem. There's studies that show that younger women today are into very expensive stuff. You see that. Makes you wonder if they can really afford it. Okay? Some guys would spend so much money on tennis shoes, on rubber shoes. I have this friend in Dubai who has 30 pairs of these expensive rubber shoes. They're called Jordans. You know, one Jordan can be as much as $1,000 for a pair of rubber shoes. Crazy, right? You know, he has 30 pairs of these rubber shoes. There's nothing wrong to buy these things. But you know what the problem of my friend? He has 30 pairs of this, he has no savings, and he has a lot of credit card debt. And up to now, after spending all money and no have savings and having a debt problem, until this day, he does not know how to play basketball. So, a good Jordan is not is not going to make you a better basketball player. All right? Okay, so this is the story. It can be something. It can be a phone. It can be anything. It can be a car. It can be all of these travels that you want to do. So you need to be able to be careful to control these urges of yours. I'm not saying do not buy it. It's just a matter of time. Okay, maybe not yet. Maybe you practice what you call delayed gratification. And it's always best to know your needs versus your wants. So that's why you go back to your budget. Check out your budgets. What is your need and what is your want? Okay? What is your need and what is your want? When you look at your budgets, you do your cash. It is a need. If it's a need, then I'll pay it. If it's a want, so if you see these things and you do your budget and you see you're negative, you cut on your wants, not on your needs. Right? So cut on your wants and not on your need, unless you really need to. So this is very important to be able to build your wealth properly. My advice to all of you, don't go broke trying to look rich. And that's a problem for a lot of people. They go broke trying to look rich, and that gets them into a lot of problem for a lot of people. So begin to act your wage. If you can't control your money, making more won't help. Okay? If you can't control your money, making more won't help. So be careful. Right? Understand that is very, very important for all of you. For some of you who can, maybe you can do a little bit of side hustles. Sometimes it's not just anywhere. You have to do a little bit of income. As long as you can do it, as long as you find a way to do it. So some people I know have 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Some of them do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So whatever you do, today's online versions, there's many things that can be done for a lot of people. Just find out. That's why invest in yourself and you build certain skills that will allow you to earn extra income. So, in a world of side hustles, it doesn't hurt to have a side hustle nowadays. Okay? Now, just a reminder for all of you, before we get into the next topic, I see this. It says here, we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. So again, be careful in how you spend your money. Just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Otherwise, you'll get into this problem. Right? That's why my recommendation in the step 2 that I teach you is that you have to learn how to resist or minimize debt. Resist or minimize debt. Okay? You have to learn how to get out of debt. You start paying off your old debt, but you avoid new debt. Some people don't get out of debt because, yes, they pay their debt, but they start a new one right after. That's what you call a revolver. You just revolve and revolve and revolve. That's not going to get you anywhere. To get out of debt, you begin to pay off old one and avoid a new one. Okay? And then eventually you do that. Be careful on how you use your credit cards, your personal loans. Here's my tip. If you're using credit card, make sure that you pay everything at the end, or don't try to do it in a don't try to keep on charging things unless you don't need to. Okay. For those of you that already have a debt problem, I recommend the snowball effect. How do you practice the snowball effect? What I did, I remember, just to be transparent, I had a big debt problem in my 30s. And how I got out of it is I tried to get out of debt, but it won't work. So I end up what you call a debt payment fatigue. I just got tired of paying all these things until I encountered this strategy. It's called the snowball effect. All right? Now, in Almaty, I can talk to you about the snowball and you get it. In the Philippines, I have to be very, very descriptive. I have no idea what a snowball is, but they know it's a snow cone. So snowball effect, you want to be able to, here's my tip, write down all your debt and you arrange it according to size. You start paying the smallest one first. After you pay the smallest one first, because it's small, you can finish it quicker. Then you move on to the next one. Then you apply the same principle. Maybe a little bit longer, but you're going to get after that. Then you move to the next and to the next. Pretty soon, sooner than later, you're solving already your biggest problem. That's how I got out of it. All right? So the snowball effect is very effective. Let me leave you with some words that I got. No, it's from Proverbs 22:7. It says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender." If you have a lot of debt, it feels like you're indebted, you're bonded, feels like you're a slave. So that's why people say financial freedom. Some people equate financial freedom with debt freedom, right? Because you feel so choked and so restricted, and so you can't even move forward because you are into too much debt. So be careful. There's wisdom. Let us embrace the new status symbol. The new status symbol is not whether you're driving a BMW or a nice Lexus, or you have a Rolex watch, or you have a 85-inch TV in your house. It's not those things. It's this one. Debt free should be the new status symbol, and that's my plea for everyone who I get to teach. Then start building your emergency funds. Emergency funds are needed because in life, there will always be emergencies. I'm in my 50s. I'm much older than many of you here. But many times, my emergency funds build me up. Build me up. Okay? For a lot of people today, they are living on their emergency funds. Good thing if they are. But if they didn't build their emergency funds, that's going to be a problem for a lot of them today. You build that. Okay? My suggestion is at least 3 months of your monthly spending. So if you're spending something like 20, I don't know, maybe 50,000 tenge. What is our conversion? I forgot. So you should have at least 150, or let's use dollars. If your monthly spending is $500, you should have at least $1,500 as your emergency funds. 3 months is good, 4 months is better, 5 months is great, and 6 months is excellent. Okay, 6 months is excellent. Now, how do you start all of these things? My recommendation to all of you is to take baby steps. Don't try to force everything all at the same time. Take baby steps and develop the habit. Like emergency funds, you start with 1 week, 2 weeks worth, 3 weeks worth, a month's worth. You build it up. Your savings, start a little bit. Your budgeting, start. So you start everything with baby steps. All right. So maybe your target is I need about $1,000 worth of savings just for anything. So maybe you can start with that, and you start by $100, $200, $500. You build it up over time, right? Baby steps will lead you to bigger dreams. Then, if you cannot afford it, you take a look at the value of insurances. Protect yourself from life risks. Okay, this is the thing. You need life insurance. You need health insurance. You need non-life insurance. These things are very important so that you are secured towards the future. Savings will give you liquidity. Investments maximize your earned income. Then insurance will protect your future income. Boo, how are we with time? Boo, how are we with time? Are we still okay with time?
Yes, we can still go on.
All right. Okay. Hey, now you're ready for investing. I mean, of course, I won't go through all its nitty-gritty investment with you. At least the basics or things that are universal in nature. Right? Here's where the problem of a lot of people. The prescription of a lot of people in their life is this: beg, steal, borrow. In life, when they get old, when they have, all these things, they need to beg for money, they need to steal money, or they need to borrow. But the real prescription is this: you start to invest early, do it wisely, and do it regularly. Early, wisely, and regularly. Okay? Very important as you try to think about ways to start growing your money. What are the things that I should do? So take a stop and try to prepare. Remember, in a volatile, unpredictable global and local environment in Manila, in Almaty, in the US, anywhere, it's always going to be volatile. The best strategy for investing and planning is to go back to the foundations. And these are the foundations that I want to teach you. Before you do anything, you must know what you're doing or what you are doing it for, or your objectives or your goals. You should have a written goal for this. Example, retirement, education of my kids. These are all goals. These are all objectives. You must know these things first. You never invest until you know what you are investing for. Okay, investing should not be a slash fund. It has to be a specific fund. Like my wife and I, we have a retirement fund. We just add and add and add to it. Very seldom do we deduct from it. Why? Our objective is to retire comfortably. Okay? So objectives. Next, time frames. You would know now that you know the objectives. Some of your investments are long-term, some of them are mid-term, some of them are short-term. You have to use the appropriate investment instruments for that. Example, do not use stocks, mutual funds, insurances for short-term needs. For that, you need savings. You need maybe time deposits or certificates of deposits. Mid-term, maybe in mid-term, you use other things like longer-term investments or longer-term savings or bonds or things like that. And then for a longer term, like retirement, education of kids, you know, use things like equities or investment. So you need to understand that what is important is that you use time as your greatest leverage. Time will be your greatest asset. As they say in investing, it's not about timing, it's more about time. If you're willing to wait, even if now most investments have gone down 30, 40%. But here's my point. If you are willing to wait, it's going to go back up to where it's going to begin to grow again. Okay, so you want to be able to use time as a great leverage for you. Right? I have this joke. I mean, for those of you, one of the riskiest investment that you can make will be the stock market or equities. And they ask me, Mr. Tiongson, do you recommend young people to invest in the stock market? My answer is, of course they do. I do. Why? If they lose their money, they still have parents, all right? So again, but for some of us, we don't have parents anymore, so we cannot take that risk. But you know, because if you lose money, then you still have time to recover. Then you understand your risks. Some people should be taking more risk than the others. So either if you're a low risk, you stay away from investments that are more volatile, like the stock market or equities. If you have a low risk personality and even profile, you should not be investing there. So you have to match. For low risk investors, you stick to low risk instruments. If you want to invest in good returns, it also means there's going to be higher volatilities and high risk. You have to have a high risk profile. Okay? So I don't recommend old people to invest in high risk instruments. And even if you're young, some people are not really, they don't like the volatility. Like what happened in the recent decline or market crash, a lot of people got scared because they saw a 30% decline in their finances. But those of us, people like me, we're not scared because I understand these things happen. And I experienced it in the past. So I just wait because my risk profile is very high. Okay? To avoid issues like this, you want to be able to have a diversified investment. So you have low risk, high risk, you combine these things. That's what we call diversification. You combine high risk assets with low risk assets. You have equities, you have mutual funds, you have savings. You have to do that. You have, these things. And then you combine high liquid assets with low liquid assets. High liquid assets will allow you to make your investment into cash without losses. But they not necessarily mean to be a good investment. Low liquid assets like houses, properties, they are good investments. Almaty, one of my recommendation there is to invest in property. If you're from Kazakhstan, maybe it's a good time to start looking at property. But they're low liquid. It's very difficult to unload it. So you have enough liquidity to wait for your low liquidity to come in. So it's a combination of both things. Always remember, when you are investing, there will always be volatility in investing. So again, you need to understand that these things takes time. Over time, you will see these things. It helps if you continuously think of the long term and you focus on objectives. My story is I experienced some losses in some of my investments, some of my stocks. But since I am investing for the long term, it doesn't bother me. In fact, I'm taking advantage now by investing more now. Okay? A little bit, not too much, a little bit. I don't want to be a hero. Or I don't want this the close of my back. But I still continue to focus on my objectives. Reminder, especially for you, most of you are still young or relatively young. Okay? Most of you are millennials. Some of you are millennials from the last millennium, or still, that's going to be part. Or at one point in time, you were a millennial in the 90s. Okay, so in investing, time is your greatest ally. Take that as an advantage. Use that and move it forward. Let me give you some numbers. If you invested $200 a month at 25, and you increase that investment by 5% every year, why? Because you will be going to be earning more than every year. and you invested in an investment fund, like a mutual fund or something that gave you a 10% return, you'll have $700,000 by the time you have 55. So there's no magic formula, but consistency and time. If you do it right, you'll be rewarded for it. If you don't invest properly, inflation will eat up the value of your money. Okay? Inflation is always going to be there. Some nations have higher inflations. This COVID will push for higher inflation for many places. So you have to be careful. If your money is earning 4%, but your inflation is at 5%, you did not earn 4%. You lost a percent. So always invest. Your target should always be higher than inflation. Right? Just know some rules in investing. The higher the potential yields are, the higher the risks. The lower the risks, the lower the yield. So that's a risk. It's called in investment. It's called the risk-return relationship. High risk, high return. Low risk, low return. If somebody tells you high return but low risk, chances are that's a scam. So you have to be careful. There's a lot of scams. Emerging nations like the Philippines and many places always have a lot of scams. Okay? Even in that part of the world, there's always going to be scams. So I have to be very, very careful. Let me share this proverb. Wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears, but wealth from hard work grows over time. So be careful, be patient, don't always be in a hurry. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. Just a reminder, to invest, you have to do it early, you have to do it wisely, and you have to do it regularly. No other formula but to do it right and wait the time. Now, some reminders for you guys before I end. Never invest in something you do not understand. Study it. If you don't understand, wait. Research, study, talk to an expert. Okay, ask for the Filipinos here. Ask me. I'm always available. Ask. Never invest in something you do not understand. Okay, practice due diligence. Due diligence means you do a little bit of a study. Don't just believe something and just act on it. Just practice due diligence. Due diligence is always going to be a good thing for people like you and me, right? Now, according to my uncle Warren Buffett, he said that risks comes from not knowing what you're doing. So study, put some elbow grease in it, study a little bit. Investing, finance, they're not rocket science. You can learn, you can learn the basics, and then you just practice it. And then you move forward towards that. Again, some reminders from Ecclesiastes 11:2 says here that divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk may lie. There's the wisdom. You have to apply wisdom in managing money and wisdom in growing your money. Okay? You have to understand that these things are very important. As I end, I want to leave you with this. Okay? I believe that the future you will either curse or thank the younger you. What you do today is very important. This is education. But as they say, education without execution is only entertainment. So what can you do forward? What are the first baby steps that you need to do? What should I need fixing? Hopefully fix your cash flow, fix your debt, and then move forward from then. And I believe you can actually build your wealth slowly, okay, and over time. Now, this question I've been asked time and time and time and time again. What is the secret to wealth? And here's my answer. The secret is not a secret. It says here in Proverbs 6:6 to 6:8, go to the aunt of sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. You see, that lowly ant is a very productive ant. Okay? There's no such thing as a lazy ant. I remember doing this talk last year. I said, no such thing as a lazy ant. Then somebody from the crowd said, the Kazakhstan ant is lazy. I don't know, it's a joke. No? I heard that somebody said, some guy in the crowd said, no, Kazakhstan ant. But there's no ants, But ants are not just hardworking. They're thrifty also. They know how to set aside. That's why they never go hungry. Okay, so it's a secret that's not a secret. Right? I wrote some books. None of them are available there, but maybe one of these books will available be in Kindle. Okay? Or there are other books there. You can take a local author there. I have a Facebook group where people can post discussions on how to handle their money. And I have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel You might check out my YouTube channel. All these things I add, and Facebook, Instagram, all this. I don't have TikTok. Maybe you can check on TikTok of Doc Boo, but I don't have one. So be careful. Okay, so these things. With that, in behalf of E plus plus or something like that. Okay, so thank you guys. I know my friend. Nice to see you, Rose, Boo, Ai, Chris. It was nice to see all of you, and may the Lord bless you richly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Randall, for your very informative and practical tips on how we can manage our money and build wealth. So maybe we'll just take a few minutes. If the group here has any question, they still have time, Sir Randall, to accommodate?
One or two questions. I can.
I'm sure maybe for the local Kazakhs, if the talk was very fast and you didn't catch up, now is a perfect time to ask or to clarify some things. This session is also recorded. All of you can share this to your friends or replay it and learn more about also the English terms when it comes to finances. So again, I'll open the floor to any questions that you have for Mr. Randall. Yes, Naya, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you very much to our professor who just was a speaker for today, and very appreciate for the new information here. And my question is about what's your own recommendations for the youth generation, for example, in youth circumstances. According, as we know, we are just living in a new situation in COVID-19. So what's your new recommendations to our Generation Z, for example, how they will survive in these circumstances and how they will, for example, start up their own business or their own project?
All right. Okay. Let me try to digest a little bit, depending on their context or where you are. I think the younger people would even be in a better position because there's a lot of this move towards the digital area, and older people like me will take a longer time to transition to something that's digital, and they can be doing so. A lot of these things, there's new industries will pop up. Business process outsourcing doesn't have to be physical; it can now be virtual. So many things that you do. So that's why it's very important to try to build on certain skills that are knowledgeable. Outsourcing beyond physical boundaries will come in. New skills are going to be important. Certain digital, even education will even begin to change. The more mainstream of homeschool, some people can do tutorial homeschool. So those things are opportunities for a lot of people. You need to understand a little bit that economies will suffer because of the COVID, but economies should begin to recover as well. So this is the reason why during this time, you just have to wait it out. You try to be productive. You find ways to generate some form of a revenue while things do recover. As to what it is, you have to find certain skills will be challenged. I don't want to sound too technical now, because when you experience times like this, many corporations, big companies are now very cautious about their costs. So they will try to cut certain costs to be able just to survive these things. So if there's going to be a challenge for a lot of people, but it also means there's also opportunities for people like you and me, that we don't belong to the first world nation wherein our labor will be expensive. So these things are going to happen right now. We are seeing that. We see that to be growing. We see that to be coming. And that's why it's important to learn certain knowledge. For instance, one of my recommendations for people in Almaty or Kazakhstan is you need to start on a faster pace to build your communication skills, because you need to be able to build these certain things that are very, very important as well. So having two languages will help. three languages, English being one of them, is important. Or you can even learn Chinese or something that you can do. Now, that's the, because look at it from competitive advantage. Now, if I am from Kazakhstan and other companies will try to do business there, and I can learn their language, or at least English, I would have a better opportunity for challenges. I'm going to be one step ahead of other people. So certain things you need to be able to start to build. And there's no perfect answer to this. You just have to wait things out and see and learn how to, my recommendation for a lot of people happening today is we need to do relearning, we need to do unlearning, and we need to do some pivots. That means you need to be able to see, to find where your niche is, and then, and hopefully that's where you wait until things becomes better. But Almaty is a little different because Almaty went into their economic crisis earlier. So you are more resilient than you give yourself credit for. I did study your economics before.
Okay, thank you very much for your full answer. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sir Randall, we have questions here in the chat box. At this moment of crisis, is it possible to invest? And how do we invest and where can we invest?
Okay. For Almaty, if you're Filipino, equities. For Almaty or Kazakhstan, property is one. But it takes a lot of money, so you need to be able to build, save there. You can begin to look at, now you might enter, because Almaty has its own mutual funds. You might want to take a look at that. Because at this point in time, because of the decline, it's a good time to enter. Now, there's another one. Let me read from the chat box. At this moment of crisis, it's possible to invest. You need to study, you need to learn. Wina, where are you from? Are you from local?
Philippines.
I'm from the Philippines.
You look at, there's a lot of opportunities in the Philippines that you can take a look at. So now, I want to read this. Let me take the opportunity. Let me take the privilege of reading this. Okay, your opinion about dollar. Tenge is going down and dollar is growing. Okay, from my understanding, studying economics of Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan is really dependent on oil and energy, and that's going to be a problem now. So you might want to have some US dollar as a hedge. Don't speculate, but use it as a hedge, because when your currency starts to be struggling, you will have a safe haven. Okay. Now, don't put too much. Like the problem of the Filipinos is they kept on holding on the dollars, and dollar went down. That's why they lost a lot of money. So don't put all your money there, but it is good to have some money in US dollars at this point in time. Although the US is not in any better situation today, but that's what you call a safe haven. When there's turmoil, they go back to safe haven. And in terms of currency, the safe haven is US dollar because it's the most widely used currency in the world today. Okay. Yeah, I think I have answered most of your questions. And if you have more questions, what you can do is maybe you can give it to Chris and Boo. You can send to me and I'll answer. Some of them are local specific, which means I have to do a little bit of study. But it's going to be a challenge. No? I think Kazakhstan will have to, in the process of reinventing itself, try to do other things, which I think is very important. And you try to find a niche towards that area, and that's going to be helpful for you in the future. All right.
Thank you, Sir Randall. It's an honor to learn again from you. I just want to honor you. Sir Randall, why he is very successful right now is because he's really generous, not with money, as I said earlier, but with his service. Thank you for today, with his time, and he accepts people to be mentored by him. That's how generous he is with his services. And the Randall that we met 12 years ago is still the same Randall now, but more financially, that's more finance, that's finance freedom now.
And better teeth.
Yes. So thank you, Sir Randall. It's a great privilege to have you.
Bye guys. God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, for our announcements, Coach Ami will have to mention some announcements before we end.
Before we end, so we hope that you learned something from our live talks tonight, and we also hope that more than the learning, we would also be able to apply the things that we have learned from our topic tonight. So just a few announcements. We'd like to hear from you. So please go to tiny.cc/English Plus and give us your feedback about our live talks. We want to know what topics you would be interested in learning in the future, and we also want to know your most available time to have live talks. So please do give us your feedback, and also log into the same go to the same link and join our WhatsApp group, and follow us as well in Instagram. We are English plus period KZ dot KZ. So that's it, and we hope to see you again next Saturday for our game day.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, I have a question. For example, some of us can just be as a professor today. We'll have a talk, and can we just speak about one theme, just according for ours? For example, if some of you or me just divide one theme and we will discuss it, is it possible to discuss here?
Yeah, that's possible. We actually want to hear from those of you who want to have a platform to speak and even share your knowledge or your experience. Just go to that website, and so that we would know which topic, so we can line it up and even have you as one of our speakers, wherein we can also learn from you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe our guest here for the first time, like Red from the Philippines. Asta was here earlier from India. Everyone is also welcome to be one of our keynote speakers. So please give us some info on how we can do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Before we all leave this meeting, can we just take one picture? Can you please turn on your videos? Let's just take one group photo. Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. So, thank you. See you next
Thank you,
Saturday.
everyone.
Join us,
Bye.
invite your friends.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
До
Thank you,
свидания.
everyone.
До свидания.
Red, Nazim, bro,
Thank you for
Red.
joining.
Пока.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Nazim, yeah, how are you?
Nazim, good to see you.
Advance happy birthday.
Happy
Maya.
birthday!
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Yannick.
Her birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Днем рождения.
Thank you all. Sorry. Thank you.
I'm just
Sorry, I am now eating because I have fun.
Я тоже.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Хорошо.
that's a cake.
I just listened and
Oh!
Birthday.
share. Send some cake here, please.
Wow.
Wow, Maya, it's your 27th birthday.
27 year.
Wow.
Oh, today? Is it today?
Tomorrow it will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Oh, same with Yannick.
Oh.
Joe
Wow.
birthday.
Don't
Birthday,
love
Nia.
the
Birthday.
Yeah.
tibia.
Drum las leñas, drum las leñas, drum las leñas, tibia.
Thank you, Lord, for your vision.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Maya,
birthday.
I'm
Thank you.
curious. Maya, I'm curious how did you get to know about our group? Who invited you?
About talks, I just spoke with Asiela because I've just mentioned one video in social networks, and then she will just said you can be a speaker in these events in this way, and so I've just got the link on email, and so it was this one Zoom conference. I know what it will be, and so I saw all of you here.
Wow. So nice
My
having
first
you.
time. Very nice. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, we hope you can join us again every Saturday. But also fill up the feedback so we would know like when would be the best time. Now we would want to learn from you. Yeah. Yenlik, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye bye. Papa.
See you.
Nazim. Bye, Nazim.
Bye.
See you.
Lola Kaz. Red.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah,
Coach Chris.
yes. We still have one lady here. Anyways.
Mm-hmm.